So welcome to the Spirit Gathering teleconference. Today is Tuesday, June 19th, 2018, and my name is Robert Matthews. And the topic tonight is Money's Energy 2.0. We're so glad you've joined us. We're recording this call so that people who could not be here tonight can listen in. Now, then they say, please press to mute the phones, but I don't want you to do that. I want you, if you have questions, I want you to just spontaneously ask the question. So you don't need to mute the phones at all. We'll just go with whatever happens. Let's take a moment now to get settled, to center ourselves, and to let go of the events of this day and begin to enter the deeper, sacred space within ourselves. Now let us imagine that we are all joining together, sacred heart to sacred heart, with every other person on this call right now. Now let us imagine that we're joining together in a circle with a light or flame or fire in the center. Imagine a spoke of light coming from the center of the circle to your heart, and for each person on the call tonight or listening after. Now we are connected. Sacred heart to sacred heart. Now let us set our intentions. We listen to one another with compassion and curiosity. We ask for what we need and offer what we can. We deepen our connection with one another and the divine. May this sharing serve us, our communities, and the planet. And so it is. Okay, so tonight we're going to be doing Money's Energy 2.0. Mostly talking about what I call my point A to point B theory on how people can create things in their lives. But tonight we're going to go way past that and talk about more than that, including the items that I had listed on the websites or YouTube videos that I have listed for you on that invitation. I'm going to talk about myself for anybody who hasn't heard me before. I had a CPA practice where I managed people's money in the entertainment field for over 25 years in Los Angeles. During that same time, I studied various forms of healing for at least 25 years, if not longer. And what I noticed is the more that I worked on myself, the more my accounting practice took off, not only took off, but took care of itself. I started from nothing and it grew, but it grew pretty much on its own. What this presentation tonight is going to be about, it's a combination of both. It's a combination of the healing that natural healing I've learned and accounting. First, I'd like to ask you to please do not believe anything I say at all. Not one thing. And all I ask you to do is to just try it for yourself. The reason I don't want you to believe it is because I want you to try it for yourself and see what works for you. And as far as my end of it, I've already done this for 40 years or more, so I already know it works. But I don't want you to believe me. I want you to just learn for yourself. Tonight, I like to start out with a quote that I like, and I think at times can put many things into perspective. It's a quote I found on the internet. A saint was asked, "What is anger?" He gave a beautiful answer. It's a punishment that we give ourselves for someone else's mistake. And what I find is when I say this to myself, when I get angry about something, some event or some person, I ended up just starting to laugh, because for me it breaks the energy of my anger, and I see how ridiculous it all is. And even though I've been working on myself for 40 year plus, maybe 50 years, I'm not even close to being perfect, or even close to, not even close. Today I had an example of when I was walking my dogs early in the morning, which I do often, and just enjoying the peaceful morning before it heats up here in Florida. Some woman from a dollar store yelled at me about picking up my dog's refuge. Now, they hadn't done anything. So I got upset with her, and I just asked her, we had a little brief conversation, not mean or anything like that, but it irritated me. And I'm trying to figure out how to clear this out of my system, and I'm not working. I got home, and then I finally remembered this quote that I just gave you. And I just immediately started laughing. I'm not sure exactly why it works for me, but it just, every time I get into a state that I can't break any other way, this comes right up. And I laugh, and it dissipates. It literally breaks up the anger. What I'd like to talk about now is a couple of quick points that I've learned that I just want to pass along that you can try, see if they work for you. One of them that I've experienced is a person has everything they need. And I mean that quite literally. A person just needs to look around slowly and patiently when they feel they lack something or they want something, and it'll be right there. And I've experienced this many, many, many times. But again, don't believe me, and just try it. Now, the next one is something that I learned myself by doing it quite a few years ago. I would either have a bad dream where I had different things that I didn't like, or I'd have a visualization of something that I didn't like in my head that was fearful. And pretty much most of my life has lived in fear, including even doing these talks that I started maybe 20 some years ago. And so here's what I found as a way to break that image or whatever it is that might be disturbing to you. If I get an image of something that scares me, then what I do is I look at that image or the thought, however you want to view it, as a sheet of paper, just a regular thin sheet of paper. Then what I do next is I hold it in both hands towards the top of the page on each edge, and I tear it in half. And it's that simple. And when I do that, it just breaks the energy. And I've also found that the faster that I catch this, the thinner the paper is and the easier it is to tear. Because the longer it takes me to catch it, the image becomes thicker and thicker because I'm adding more energy to it in the first place. In fact, what I found personally is that the energy adds a thickness, because if I didn't add any energy to it, it wouldn't even exist. So this has been one way I found, a very simple way to move through my fears. now we're going to talk about the point A to point B theory. I've done this before on at least one of these talks, and I don't know whether the church keeps them anymore or not. So I'm going to go over, not super quickly, but somewhat quickly, so I can get in everything I want to get in tonight, or at least as much as I can. What I learned many, many, many years ago is what I call my point A to point B theory. And basically what that is, it's if you want something in your life, all you need to know are two things. One, you need to know point A. Point A is where you are. And so it's good to make a list of where you are. You know, I'm standing here, I have this much money, I have this much debt, I have this kind of car, I live in this place. You can list all the different things that you have right now at point A. Then what you do is you go to what it is that you want to create, that you want in your life, and that's what I call point B. And so, again, you write down what I want. Like one time I did this I wanted a black Corvette. So I wrote down that I wanted a black Corvette, convertible. I wanted a black top, black leather interior. I went through everything that I wanted in the car. And so now the hard part is once you've done this, is you just drop it. You let it go, and you don't really need to think about it again. And now what I do when say I wanted the Corvette, now what I do is I just go along with my life, and I use what I call my awareness. Now, people can use different words for awareness. They can use women's intuition, gut instinct, little quiet voice, whatever. It is just basically a little quiet voice that I have found, again, is always giving me suggestions or talking to me. Most of the time, I don't hear it because my rational, logical mind is running over it like crazy. It's always talking, always noisy, always noisy. But if I follow that little quiet voice, I find I'm always in the right place at the right time. So what I do if I was actually in front of everybody right now, I'd be standing up and there'd be a large sheet of paper that I'd be drawing on. And I would draw my point A at the bottom left-hand corner of this sheet of paper. And then I would draw point B at the top right-hand side of this piece of paper. And now I'm going to start at the bottom left-hand side, point A, where I'm at, where I don't have this car, I've got this other car, I'm working here, I'm doing this, I'm living in this place. And so I just now start to follow my awareness. And my awareness is followed all the time. When I used to have an office in Santa Monica, my awareness might tell me to go pick up a LA Times right outside my office. And if I follow that, I have no idea where that's going to take me. If I don't follow that, I know I'm not going to go anywhere. But if I follow that, who knows? If I say, well, no, I don't want to get it now. I'm going to get it tomorrow. I'm going to get it tonight when I head home. I make up a lot of excuses. Again, this is the rational mind that, to me, has almost no value for a person. I mean, almost zero value. I find if I follow a little quiet voice, I'm always in a perfect place. Because if I follow that quiet voice and it says, go to this newsstand and pick up the LA Times, I have no idea whether when I get there, whether I'll even get the LA Times. Something else might catch my attention. Or there might be something in the paper that I need to look at. I have no idea. Or, and this has happened that I've noticed, is sometimes when I follow that little quiet voice and nothing happens at all, I think to myself, well, this isn't working. And what I realized, again, many years ago, is that it's working just fine, because what might have just happened is if I hadn't followed that little quiet voice, I call it awareness, I might have had a really bad experience, an accident, something else bad might have happened to me, And instead, nothing happened. So just because with following your awareness, or whatever you choose to call it, doesn't mean something, and nothing happens, doesn't mean something didn't happen, because something might have happened that you avoided. And so I'm going to start to draw up toward the point B. And as I'm drawing up there, going slowly, I'll run into a block. All right, I'll run into like a square. And I run into a block. And there's like two types of blocks. Well, there's many types of blocks, but the two types are going to cover tonight. There's one block that you put in your way so that you can go around the block, so that you don't push through the block, you go around it, and it's there for your safety. Now, if you push through the block, which I have done, because I've done all these things, so I know what works and doesn't work, because I've done all the wrong things I could possibly do. If you push through that block, you can have a lot of issues that you don't want to deal with. So, because initially your, let's say, higher self put the block there for you. So you go around the block and you avoid a lot of these things. Okay, so we're going to go around this block, because that's what this block is for. And now we're going to keep heading up, and we're getting close to even seeing the point B. Okay, we're not seeing it yet, but we're getting close. Now we run into another block. This, say it's a triangle. Now this block you put there so that you could go through it, because this is going to develop strengths that you need later on. So you actually have this block to push through it so you can become stronger. So this block we're going to push through to become stronger. And now we're still following our awareness. This could take a day, this could take weeks, who knows how long it's going to take to get to your point B. So I'm following it along, and we're going up closer. Now we're getting closer, so now we can see point B. We can see what it is that you wanted to create. We can see it. It's right there. And to get from the point A to this point, just a little bit before point B, we've used our awareness this whole time. That's all we've done. We've just used and followed the awareness. Okay? Now, when you can start to see your point B, here is, well, can be a danger area for you, because many people, when they see this point B, they just reach for it right away. They just try to grab it, even though it's still a little bit further away, but they try to grab it. Wrong thing to do. You've gotten to this, close to this point B, because you followed your awareness, your intuition, that quiet voice. Now, if you start to almost like jump out of the boat, you basically start almost from ground zero again, because you're not going to get to the point B, because now you've let your noisy mind decide what you're going to do. And you never want to do that, ever. So you jump out, you reach for it, and you don't get it because you're too far away. So now we're back to point A again, and we're going to go through all these steps again. So we go through all the steps again. We go through different blocks that you set up, and we get now close to point B. Now, here's an interesting thing that I also have experienced before many times. We're getting close to point B, and we're going up this, we basically almost gone at a diagonal from lower left point B, or point A, to the upper right point B. And we're almost there, we're almost there. And sometimes, then we'll get right to point B, and then we'll acquire whatever it is we wanted. Okay, whatever it is that you're going for, you'll acquire it. But there's also times when we'll get really close to point B, and then all of a sudden, again, by following my awareness, I'll make a left, and I'll start curving over to the left top part of the page. And I get really close to the point B, and I'm making a left. And I'm following my awareness, and I don't understand why I'm going away from point B. I have no idea, but I've learned enough times by doing the wrong things that I'm going to follow my awareness. So I go really close to point B, and then I curve over to the left, and then I'm going further over to the left, and I'm going away from what it is that I wanted, and I keep going to the left, and I keep going to the left side of the page, and I keep going. And all of a sudden, I find point C. Now, point C is something that I could have never even imagined existed, that I never had even thought that I wanted, and it is 100 times better than point B. It's just amazing how I experienced that. And I'm so happy that I now have acquired point C. Not that I thought about acquiring point C, not that I planned on it, I was going for point B, but by following my awareness, I ended up with point C. And I'm very excited about it. Cannot believe it enough. So that's, in a quick capsulized version, is my point A to point B theory. I don't know if anybody has any questions. If you do, great. If you don't, great. But I'll pause for a second in case anybody has any questions before we continue.
I have a question.
Sure, please.
When you're on our awareness going from point A to point B, what's fueling that? Desire?
Actually, no.
Okay.
You let go. Good question though, because when you wrote down everything for point A, and then you wrote down everything you wanted in your point B, and then the next step was to just drop everything and let it go.
Correct.
At that moment, you let go of the desire. You let go of the outcome. You let go of whatever's going to happen.
Okay.
Does that make any sense?
Yes.
Great, because it's important. The important part is to write everything down, and as important is to drop it. Once you've decided what is point A, point B, and you've decided this is where you want to go, then you literally just drop it and just see what happens. Any other questions, or we can continue? Okay, great. So one of the things I want to talk about is, with doing all of this that we're talking about now, I'm going to add in some other points. I'm going to talk about slowing down. Slowing down is very important for a person. And I mean physically slowing down. When I've given these classes before, I've literally had people drop a pencil on the floor and then slowly bend down to pick it up, and slowly pick it up and regain their seat in the class. There's reasons for that, and the best way for me to describe those reasons is I'll tell you a story about a friend of mine who was drinking more alcohol than she wanted to. So she asked me, how could she stop? And I said, okay, let's do this. And now we're doing this by phone. I'm in LA at the time, and she's in Palm Beach. So and she liked rum and Coke. That's what it was. Okay. So what I told her to do is I said, all right, she's standing in the kitchen. And I said, now go slowly to open up the cabinet door and reach for your glass, but go really very slowly. And so she did that. And then she pulled the glass out of the cabinet and put it on the counter. Then I said, okay, go very slowly into the refrigerator to get your ice cubes and put those into the glass very slowly. I'm speeding it up quite a bit, but it was taking minutes to do this. Then I said, okay, now grab your rum and pour it in. Again, reaching for the bottle of rum, pour it in very, very slowly, and then put the bottle of rum back down on the counter, but again, very slowly. Again, this took like a couple of minutes to do. Then I had her do the same thing with the Coke. Get it from the refrigerator, open up the bottle very slowly, pour it in, and set the bottle back into the refrigerator, again, very slowly. And then the last part was I said, okay, now take a sip, but take it very, very, very slowly, and just the whole procedure, lifting the glass up from the counter to her lips, sipping it a little bit, and putting it down. What she experienced in that totally freaked her out. She got to see all the fear that came up because she was going so very slowly. She wasn't speeding through everything. Most people, including myself, speed through life. And a main reason for speeding through it, because you don't really need to. Main reason for speeding through it is because you don't want to feel those feelings that are coming up as you're just having your day-to-day experiences. So it totally freaked her out, and she got to see what the fear was that was causing her to drink. And that only happened by going very, very slowly. If we had time tonight, I'd have us all, well, we got like a couple of minutes. I can do this. And if you have I'm going to do this just for fun. If you have something, whatever it is, a pen, something you can drop on the floor, whether you're sitting in a chair or standing or wherever you're at, just if you have some item, just drop it. If you don't, that's okay. But if you have some item, just drop it. And then now, let's just go. We're going to take only 1 minute, which is not slow at all, but we're going to only take 1 minute. Now let's reach down slowly, slowly, slowly. We're only at about 10 seconds. Reaching down. We're not even close to getting close to that object. Slowly, slowly, slowly. We're about 20 seconds. Keep going slower and slower and slower and slower, and keep reaching, but slower and slower and slower and slower and slower. And now we're getting a little closer to the object. Keep reaching, slower and slower and slower and slower until we're getting right near the object. Slower. Now pick it up, hold it, don't move. Okay, now let's lift it back up. Slowly, 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 slowly. We're at 10 seconds. Slowly, 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 slowly. Very slow, hardly moving it. We're at 20 seconds. Slowly, slowly, slower. Okay, now bring it up a little slower, and that's it. Okay, we're up at 30 seconds. We're up at a half a minute. So I don't know whether you experienced anything, didn't experience anything, or got a chance to even do it. But doing something like this will help bring up more of your consciousness or awareness to show you if you've got something going on in your system right in this moment. Did anybody do it, or anybody have an experience that they want to share? Okay. All right. So now I want to talk about letting go, which is basically, again, with letting go of the desire, letting go of everything, which is what we talked about at the beginning, where you pick point A, now you pick point B. And you then drop it or let it go. Now, here is where I found this can be very difficult for many, many people, including myself, which is why I listed some of these, YouTube videos and websites for you to look at later on, if you find of anything of interest. If any of them appeal to you at all, then I'd suggest looking at them. The Ho'oponopono YouTube video is extremely well done. It's about an hour and a half. Ho'oponopono is an ancient Hawaiian healing method that basically requires a person to take responsibility for everything in their lives. Now, I've heard that before, and I thought I knew what it meant. But what it means to the people that practice Ho'oponopono, it means that not only do I take responsibility for myself and what's going on with me, but I take responsibility for what's happening in the person in front of me, or that I just experienced last week, or whatever. It's taking responsibility for everything around you in your let's say your field, in your energy. It's everything around you, not just myself, but everything. And this gentleman, actually, Dr. Hulen, has been doing this for many, many, many years. I don't know, 30, I think. And I've only done this now for about 2. So, but it's one of my more favorite methods of healing right now. I probably have studied 30 or more different forms of healing methods and become proficient in all of them. But this one, I'm only like a couple years in, but I really like it a lot. And it's also about letting go. Then another one listed I have is the Sedona method. Now, the Sedona method is a method that I actually became a coach in quite a few years ago. Went to many of the classes, became a coach on different levels, and I liked it. I mean, it was nice. It was nice. The next one is called the release technique, and again, there's a website to go to that, or a YouTube video to go to that. That is similar to the Sedona method. They're 2 identical methods run by 2 separate people. There was a gentleman who developed, let's call it the Sedona method, years and years ago, Lester Levinson. He developed it years ago, and he had these classes. And two of I guess his star students, when he stopped teaching, set up their own method. They're basically based off of his. I like the release technique a little bit better, only because you can go on Wednesday nights, and this person still does an hour and a half program free. You can just, like we're doing this phone conversation now. He does an hour and a half program every Wednesday night free to help people with releasing. Now, he also tries to sell you tapes and books and stuff like that. But he also spends quite a bit of the time in helping people release or going through release, which again is letting go. And I like that. And he does this every Wednesday, whether it's Christmas, New Year's. It doesn't make any difference what the day is. I mean, what event might be happening on that Wednesday. He's there 52 weeks out of the year. So I like that, because for people that find the release technique, this form of letting go, great, then he's there to help you. And then you can sign up for classes, or you want to, you don't have to. Okay, now, the next thing is I have a book listed called User Illusion. And it's a really long book. It's got, big book. It's got, 600 pages or more. And it basically talks about how we are, as human beings, are in the illusion that we are the users. We are the ones that are in control. Okay? And this gentleman points out, through many examples, that we are not even in control at all. He states in the book that there's approximately 11 million bits of information that we're receiving every second. And as human beings, we can only interpret, decipher, feel, whatever words you want to use, maybe 10 at the most out of 11 million, which is almost like nothing. And so I like this book. In fact, I have, and we had more time, and if you were interested, I can actually, because I've done this before many years in a row, maybe 10, 15 years, I can ask you 3 to 4 questions and prove to you, actually have you prove to yourself whether you have choice and the ability to choose what you want, or whether you have no free will and everything just sort of happens. I will have to say something when I've done that with people, whether I've known them for a long period of time or I've just met them or anywhere in between. Every time I've done this with somebody and shown them this, I never talk to them again. They never want to talk to me. They never want to see me. It kills the relationship immediately. I didn't realize that at the time, and then when it happened a few different times, I thought, well, that's interesting. But it's happened every time, and I've probably done it now 30 times or more. So I'm a little careful about when I do it. The next thing I have listed is a fallen dafa, which is now just something I've just started studying. It's a technique. It's a Chinese qigong method, which I find very interesting. I know nothing about it except I bought a bunch of books and I've been studying it. But other than that, I know nothing about it. The last thing I've listed is what I call Igor's YouTube videos. And I've listed a YouTube video for everyone to watch if they want to. Again, pick these things if they spark an interest, and if they don't worry about it. And also I gave you his Twitter, where he's got an open Twitter profile. He's got an open Twitter that people can sign on to and learn a lot about what he's talking about. Now, this is way out there. It's like what he talks about is way out, which most people don't even discuss. I'm bringing it up because when I was younger, I had many different dreams that were repetitive. This dream that I had, one of the dreams I had that was repetitive, was over and over and over again, ties into exactly what he was saying and what he shows about. Now, the reason I'm even bringing that up is because when I was younger, I also had other dreams that actually came to fruition. One dream was, not one dream, one thing I did when I was younger, at that same age, 7 to 10, I went to a gas station down the street, a Sinclair gas station, got a bunch of maps. At those times, they were free. I taped the maps together. I was living in Chicago with my parents. I taped the maps together from Chicago to Los Angeles, and I literally drew out a route that I was going to drive from Chicago to LA. And then I totally forgot about it and didn't think about it again. And then years and years later, when I got out of college, I drove out to LA and ended up living in LA. And I didn't remember what I had done when I was younger. And then quite a few years after that, when I'm in LA, all of a sudden it dawned on me, that's exactly the same route I took. Also, when I was that age, at around 2nd or 3rd grade, I remember, I don't remember, but I drew a picture of my teacher in the hospital because we had to do drawings or whatever that you do as a kid. So I drew that. I totally don't remember that. What I remember is she ended up going to the hospital, and I got a postcard back from her specifically stating how how did I know she was going to end up in a hospital with the drawing that I made of her? So and I'm sure, and I don't think I'm special. Everybody is in touch with what's going on. Again, it's a matter of slowing down. It's a matter of letting go, and just seeing what comes up in your system. That's pretty much what I found it to be. Now I just want to check in to see if anybody has any questions or is interested in anything that I've said. I'd be happy to answer a question now if you haven't. If you don't, that's okay too. Okay, great. So what I like to do now is, because I brought up a bunch of different things, and so I'm not sure. I'm guessing your minds are kind of going fairly quickly right now in one direction or another. Either I'm really crazy or you find it interesting. Either one. So what I like to do now is for everybody to become quiet, to slow down, become comfortable whether you're sitting or standing or lying down, however you are. Close your eyes. And what I'd like you to do is now check in to see how you're feeling. How you're feeling emotionally, how you're feeling mentally, how you're feeling physically. Are you tense? Are you relaxed? Emotionally, are you happy, sad? And just check in to see how you're feeling at the moment. And then what we're going to do is, now that you've done that, we're going to take 5 deep breaths. And each breath, we're going to take, the next breath, we're going to take it even deeper. And the next breath deeper still. So again, with your eyes closed, take your first deep breath, breathe in deeply, and then slowly exhale. Now for a second deep breath, we'll breathe in even deeper. And then we'll slowly exhale. And for our third deep breath, we're going to make it even deeper than before. Hold it, and then slowly exhale. Our fourth deep breath, we'll breathe in even deeper. And then slowly exhale. Our last deep breath, we're going to breathe in really deep this time. Hold it. And then slowly exhale. Okay, now I'd like you to check in, same way you did before we did this, and how you're feeling emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. And if there was, see if there was any difference between before us starting these 5 deep breaths and now to how you feel. Just check in. And did anybody notice any difference between before and after? If you'd want to speak. If you don't, that's okay too. Okay, great. Now I'd like to invite each person to comment on what stays in their heart and mind as they leave. Again, if you'd like to, that's great. Again, if you don't, that's okay too. Again, if you're in a space where you're enjoying yourself, you don't need to say anything. So I'd like to thank you for joining us for this Spirit Gathering teleconference. The call may be archived as an MP3 at www.tzaddi.org. Phone access to the recording of this call is available until next month's call. For playback of the recording, dial 712-432-1085, and please use the access code 990-322 hashtag. We hope you'll join us for our next Spirit Gathering on Tuesday, September 18th, 2018. Yes, that's September 18th. Taking off a couple of months for summer vacation. These calls are hosted by Tzaddi, an interspiritual metaphysical organization founded in California in 1964. Tzaddi welcomes, nurtures, and supports people in celebrating and more directly experiencing their relationship with the loving presence of the divine. Our programs are open to people of any race, color, or national or ethnic origin. Visit www.tzaddi.org to learn more. We will close now with thanks and a blessing. Thanks to Tzaddi founders Amy Keys and Dorothy Blackmere. Thanks to all of you who have been a part of our community tonight. And thanks to Divine, who supports us always, even when we're not aware of it. And for a blessing, if all of you will close your eyes, and to the divine we say, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. For those on this call and those that listen in the future, I wish everyone a blessed evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.